So Cursor AI has been gaining a lot of popularity lately. It feels like everybody and their grandmother are talking about it. Now, I've actually been using this tool for an entire year for software engineering. So Cursor has been a staple tool of mine, building AI solutions and any kind of software in general. Now, the question that I want to address in this video is this tool for everybody? In other words, should you be using Cursor? Now, the short answer to that question is yes, but it's not quite always as simple as that. And to address this point, I want to go back to the beginning, or the beginning. For those of you that are South African, you'll understand that. For those of you that aren't, I apologize. My journey with AI started a little over a year ago. So I first discovered ChatGPT, and probably like most of you, heard about it on social media and saw all these people posting videos about how ChatGPT is taking coding interviews for them. And I was like, this can't be. That's just ridiculous. And then I tried it for myself and I was like, okay, there's something here. So then I actually started using ChatGPT quite heavily in my own work. I was like, well, if it takes me 30 minutes to learn something and to write code, and AI can do that for me in less than a minute, why not? I'm going to be a super software engineer if I can just have that with me the whole time. So I used ChatGPT for a while, and there's good and there's bad to it. I'm sure you've experienced it if you've tried using it for coding yourself. Sometimes you get something that works. Sometimes you get something that breaks and keeps breaking. And sometimes you get something that works, but that shouldn't really work, if you know what I mean. It can give you code that's really badly optimized. And if you put that into a production environment, you can experience all sorts of challenges. So after that, I discovered Claude. And Claude was actually really great. I used Claude to build some solutions on Salesforce. And it took a lot of iterating. It took a lot of prompting with Claude, kind of telling it, this is what I want, and this is the error I'm getting, and going back and forth with Claude. But at the end of the day, I built the thing that I wanted to build, which was great. Now, here's the kind of caveat or issue with using AI tools to build software. It's very, very easy to not care about learning what the code does, which in my opinion is a bit of a problem. AI makes it very easy for you to write code and not understand what it's doing. You tell it that you want it to achieve this specific thing, it achieves this thing, but you have no idea how. Now, the problem with that is that if you don't know what that code is doing, you can't actually fix it. And yes, AI can help you to some degree, but the other thing with AI is it tends to write everything for you in one file. If you're trying to build some front-end component or something that runs on a browser, usually you would split that out into different components and you'd have one file that kind of incorporates all these components. But if you don't know about how to design that and how to kind of separate everything, and you use AI to create everything for you, you're going to have one big file. And generally, if that file goes above 1,000 lines of code, the AI is not going to... It's not going to be able to process the whole thing for you anymore. You're going to ask it to do something for you. It's going to give you this section that, the relevant section that it thinks it needs to change. And then it's going to add comments before and after. Something like the rest of the code goes here. And now you're in a position where you have this massive file of code that you now have to go and understand because the AI can't rewrite it for you. At least as of this point right now. This might change in the future, but by the time you're watching this, maybe that's not even the case anymore. But right now, it's a problem that I experience. If I ask the AI to write something for me, and it gets too long, I have to start splitting it out if I want it, or I have to start giving it the relevant chunks, understanding the whole structure of the code if I want it to do something for me. Because I can't just dump the whole thing in and expect the full code to come out that I can use as is. Now, I know we've been talking about ChatGPT and Claude up until now, but this all kind of flows into Cursor because Cursor has replaced all of those tools for me. Cursor is amazing. All the tools that Cursor gives you, the autocomplete, for example, I was using GitHub Copilot for a while for that, but their Copilot++ has really surpassed, in my experience, or in my opinion, GitHub Copilot. So that is a great feature for me to use that basically gives you, it auto-completes your code as you're typing it. You just press tab and this gives you what it thinks you're going to type next, which a lot of the time is accurate. You can also highlight pieces of code and type in a prompt and tell it, I want to change it to do this. You can also use something called Composer, which is a beta feature of theirs right now, to create files for you and actually write the code in those files, which is great. But once again, you run into this thing where if you don't understand what the code is doing, once you get to a certain point, like it's really easy to create apps quickly and to kind of spin things up. But once it gets to a certain length of code, like if you're trying to build big applications, if you don't understand what the code is doing, you're going to run into a lot of problems. You're going to keep prompting and prompting and prompting, and it's either not going to give you the correct output or it's not going to give you the full output. In either case, to kind of get yourself out of that, you're going to have to start understanding what the code's doing. So this brings me back to the question, should you use Cursor? So my honest thoughts are yes, but use it responsibly. Use it in a way that's going to help your understanding. Remember, Cursor and all these AI tools, despite what everybody else is telling you, they are just co-pilots. You are still the main pilot. You are in the driver's seat. As the programmer, you are coding and you are creating a design. And the AI is just there to help you. Like if you don't know how to do something or you don't know the best way to solve something, you ask the AI and it can give you suggestions and you can accept them or reject them. But that's all it is. It's suggestions. You are still the person that needs to make the decisions. And to make the decisions, you have to understand what's going on. You can't rely on the AI to make decisions for you. It's not another human being. It is a tool. It's a machine. It does what you tell it to do. This is why, remember, back to that point, you are still in the driver's seat. Now, it doesn't matter how good your co-pilot is, if you can't fly or you can't drive, you're still going to crash. With that being said, you can still use AI to learn. And I think that is the biggest advantage we have right now. It's so easy, so easy to learn something. For example, if you're in Cursor and you have some piece of code and you don't know what it's doing, just highlight the piece of code, use Command L if you're on Mac or Control L if you're on Windows, puts it into a chat pane for you, and you ask it, what is this code doing? Or explain this to me in simple terms. And it's as easy as that, and you get an answer. And if you don't understand it, you ask some more questions. But remember, the key here is in simple terms. You got to understand the words. If you don't understand the words, you're not going to know what's happening. And that's really it. If you've thought of giving Cursor a shot, which I hope you will, because it's a great piece of software, I'm going to leave a video right here somewhere where I take you through how to set it up and how it actually works. Adios.